Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. I'm not gonna lie, that was really cool. My friend 270 out of Colorado, who I've been helping on and off with just small little things, as a thank you gift, sent me a $50 gift card to Black Bear Diner. I thought that was amazing. Okay, I'm debating if I should do this video or not. I really am. This is a MaxWell 165 farad, 48 volt super cap. We'll just hold this out there, right there, for you guys to get the part number off of this. Now what I'm going to do here, do not do this. But I'm going to show you guys something. And this is pretty cool, in my opinion. Let me break this down, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so to help protect you guys, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do this. This has taken 2 hours to get to this point. What these are the individual cells inside the tank, inside the cap. The exact same cells that I showed how to build your own supercapacitor with. These excess cells. They're same cells, different wrap on them. Now, what's really important to understand is that this is your positive terminal. The flat side clearly marks as positive. This is your negative terminal. So how they achieve the 48 volts is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 caps. That's a 16 volt cap or 15 volt cap. Here's another 15 volt cap, and here's another 15 volt cap. If we were to straighten this out, this would be a long stretch of caps, but they're held together with these clips. Now, these things are punched down and pressed on, and they are held together. This aluminum bar is so soft, it's not even funny. Not even funny. But to make a 1500 farad cap out of 150, what's the tag say on this thing? 165 farad cap. It's this simple. Ready? And then we tab all of these 3 tabs together, and we tab all 3 of these tabs together. Now, it's not that simple, because the way this particular style of cap bank works is the balancing board's in this lid. Now, I'm a fairly smart cookie, and I'm going to make all the balancing circuitry work again. But for me to do that, I got to change some surface mount ICs on that and wire some other stuff. Not going to show that. But now what I've got to create is a plate that'll fit all 3 of these eyelets, re-pressure pound these things, or reseat these little nubs, and then reseat this nub to make it work so it's going to be stock and look stock from the outside. This is entirely more work than what I thought it was going to be when I initially purchased this cap, but I do know for a fact that's 1500 farads worth of, or 500 farads, 500 farads, 500 farads. Sum total, 1500 farads. The trick is we have to have an absolutely perfect electrical connection from this tab, this tab, and this tab, this tab, this tab, and this tab to achieve that level of capacitance, and do it safely. Because if we don't do it safely, remember, this is basically a bomb. There's a lot of electrical potential stored inside of these cells. A lot. And I mean a lot. So this thing is fully depleted, fully discharged at the moment. And when we're done, I've got to make all of this fit back together perfectly. Do not try this at home. You ever have your parent tell you, do as I say, not as I do? Don't do this. Do not buy a 48 volt cap thinking that you're going to be able to quickly convert this thing over and make it work. I was underneath the impression that it had the little balancing boards on each one of the cells. The first version of this, the one that I've currently got underneath my workbench, has got balancing boards on each cell. These joints are friction welded together. They take a little bit, they apply a certain amount of pressure to it, they spin it at a certain RPM, and then they weld the joint together. These are friction welded, you guys. For me to get the tabs off, I had to sit there with a Dremel and hand cut this out, right? And I couldn't let this get too chipped away because that's the only thing I've got to create a new joint, replacement tab, is with the height of the cap, and then you gotta... So first you hand sand these off, then you gotta peel them off without damaging the cell, which is a trick all into itself. Each one of these little silicone pads are just angel hair delicate. But in here I created a new bus bar, one that goes from here to here, and then one that goes from here across this cell. So remember, this is our positive side, this is our negative side, and how we get this to work is the current's got to cross all the caps to make the positive and electron pixies come together. Okay. This was one of the tougher things I've done. I would strongly suggest, even though that these things are relatively cheap at this voltage, I will never do another one of these ever again. Never will I ever. And the whole sequence of taking these apart, they blue Loctite in all the screws. So I had to sit here and heat every single one of the screws to get them to come out. This was not an easy feat to create this cap. It was not an easy feat. And I mean, all my cells are completely discharged, or otherwise I would be killing myself right now, because if I close this and this thing was fully charged, this lid would blow off like... So now that I got everything lined up to where our positive posts now line up with the lid, and the negative post also lines up with the lid, which... No small feet once again. I'm going to say that. Better have your thinking shoes on when you decide you're going to put this thing together. Okay, so now what I've got to do is I got to drill out every single one of these rivets, top and bottom, and I got to rewire the thing. And then tomorrow's project is going to be redoing the balancing board, which has got more heat conductive silicone booty loveness, and then they've also gone and epoxied what they call potted the electronics, so it keeps it water resistant. I got to change out that voltage IC, and hopefully it'll run the way I understand it to be wired today. So when we come back, lid will be on, balancing boards will be in. I got a relay down. These things are so delicate. Everything sticks to them. I got to lay down the silicone boots that sit just like this. Just like this. These are got some kind of weird oil on them, straight from Chinese, caused cock to rot off, I'm sure. Shmoo, juice. I said juice. Juice. So let me get that done. And this requires a lot of special tapes. This requires Kapton, which is a high voltage, otherwise it's got a very low dielectric principles to it, doesn't want to conduct. You need to use Kapton tape. Duct tape will not work. If you put duct tape in here, this thing will stick to the case. This case is held on there by, well, pure friction going on, but all the joints are made of very, very, very soft boon-end silicone joint compound that you've got to keep spotlessly clean. I had to modify the white plastic insert tray, as you can see, because when I flipped the cells around, the cell supporters were set differently to keep the cells from floating up and down. Never will I ever, never, ever do this again. Ever, never, ever. I made this work. I'll never do it again. Okay, I'll be back. Hold on a second with me, Brother Paul. Okay, so this is where we're at. We're at the tail end of this project. Yeah, I finally got all the balancing boards hooked up back up. The silicone pads are reinstalled. And by the way, there is a torque pattern that you need to follow. Start at this corner and then go kitty corner back and forth. Don't do this. Don't do what I did. This is dumb, dumb, dumb. Don't do. Okay, now that I got the parental warning out of the way, look, this is a giant pain in the butt. So what I've got going on here is I've got the GoPro set up in time lapse. Oh, it's beeping at me. And now it just shut off. When we come back, the GoPro is going to be running and this light's going to kick on. It's going to look something like this. And we're going to see how long it takes for this cap to charge or explode. We will return, even if the fire department's here. Where's my fire extinguisher? Okay, so we let this thing charge for an hour and 32 minutes, pulling approximately 2 amps every second of every second. Well, the hardest part is the starting charge. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cheat. We're going to use our 500 amp carbon pile load resistor or tester, and this has got a variable resistor in it. So we're going to start putting some amps on this thing, and let's get this sucker charged because I'm ready to play with it. So we'll start cranking this up, and we're going to let the cap drink. There, it's pulling 145 amps worth of current, and the load pile's already starting to overheat. So watch our voltage. It's going to start climbing here pretty quick. Pulling 150 amps going in. $130 amps going in. Let's put some heat on it, or some air. It's going to start pulling less and less current the higher we get up in voltage. We're still pulling over 100 amps worth of draw right now, according to the amp gauge over here. This gauge is off quite a bit. But this is consuming 100 amps worth of charge every second of every second. Look at our voltage, how slowly it's climbing. There's 30,000 amps worth of storage going on right here. So we're losing 20 amps worth of current between this connector, the wire, the pile, and then on the output side. Well, I'm not here to be nice to things. Let's crank this up. Getting closer. Let's go down here and let's turn on the 1000 amp power supply. Yay, we're finally up to 12 volts. All we had to do was slam a ton of current on the capacitor constantly. Oh, let's keep going. Still drinking 70 amps worth of draw. So voltage down there, 14.6. So we'll crest at 14.6, 14.7, somewhere in there. This would have taken all night to get this far if I would have left it charging with a light bulb. Still pulling 50 amps worth of draw. Now watch how quickly our voltage starts to ramp down once we get towards our peak voltage. We're only a volt away now. Still drinking. Still drinking. Remember, the advantage with a supercapacitor is that it can get rid of all of its current right here, right now, this second, today. And we're going to put that to the test here in just a second. Oh, let's see, display. Screen timeout. We'll change that back to about 5 seconds. Okay. 14.2, still pulling 15 amps worth of draw. Takes a long time there to sneak up on that last couple volts, don't it? A couple tenths. Okay, let's reconfigure for a test. So I get this all the time. How does a supercapacitor actually work in my vehicle's electrical system, and how does it complement it? Well, we're going to give you a good demonstration. Okay. We're going to use the carbon pile once again to represent, let's say, your CB or car audio amplifier. Okay. We're going to use this little 100 amp. This is an RSP 1500 15. Okay, so it's a 100 amp supply. Oh, be quiet, GoPro. It's a 100 amp supply. Let's back up. It's the only way we're going to make this work. We're going to pretend this is your car audio amplifier. We're going to use this power supply representing your alternator, your little anemic, we'll say 100 or 90 amp alternator in your car. So the capacitor cannot make up for generation. Nothing will ever overcome your ability to generate current. Your generator, your alternator in your car, right? What the capacitor can do is supplement, add to, complement, give a lending hand to your power supply. So we can all see our voltage, 15.93. We're pegged over here, almost 16 volts. So we're going to say we key up our amplifier. We'll put a couple 100 amp load on this thing. There, we'll say 500 amp load. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 on key. Now what we just did is we've only got 90 amps that we can put into the capacitor. But we just put a 500 amp load staying above 14 volts, roughly 13.93, for a long period of time. And I mean a long period of time. We're consuming more amperage than what we can generate without the complement of a battery. Remember, a battery will not do you any good if it's a standard automotive battery until your voltage drops below 12.5. Moreover, you're asking your alternator to produce that excess current to charge the battery, plus your supercapacitor, plus run whatever your electrical equipment is. This is a giant tank of electrons. We're pushed back up now. Just a couple seconds later, like half a minute. Let's do it again. Oh, there it is. Oh, 500 plus amp load. Pegged in the corner, pegged in the corner, pegged in the corner. Off the key, off the key, off the key. Amp load removed. Alternator, never doing anything more than 89 amps worth of draw. And here comes our voltage back up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's do it again. Let's put another load on it. Here, we'll stand on it. 600 plus amp load in the corner, in the corner, in the corner, in the corner. Off the key again. Off the key. Off the key. In between your load cycles, your alternator is refilling the tank of electrons. It is complementing your electrical system in your vehicle. It is complementing the alternator. It's protecting your alternator from an unbelievable amount of load. We just put 600 plus amps, bink, pegged the amp gauge in the corner, bink, in the corner. Meanwhile, this thing never saw any more than 90 amps worth of load presented to it. It's charging all the time. Yes, this is true. But once the cap starts to get full, as we're seeing over here, cap getting full, look at what our amperage draw is doing. It's dropping off. It's tapering off. Oh, I don't need to give all that energy up now. It's a constant smooth load on the alternator versus crash completely past its capabilities, shorting the alternator out almost completely, and then off the load again. On the load, off the load, off the load, on the load, off the load. It's nice and steady. It's smooth, very linear. So now we're down to 8, 9 amps. Here, we'll do it again. We're going to basically put the current load of a 32 pill on a 100 amp power supply, and we're going to do it for a measurable amount of time. Check it out. We'll do it again. Crash to the corner. Hard in the corner. Buried in the corner, still above 14 volts. Okay, we're going to unkey. Unkeying. Now this is really an unrealistic test. We're asking the capacitor to discharge 6 to 7 times the amount of current that the power supply can produce. That's unsafe. It's unrealistic. Now, in the same breath, if you had a big enough capacitor bank, like you took a minivan and you filled it up with supercapacitors, it'd be unbelievably expensive. It'd be cheaper to put bigger alternators on the minivan, especially with drop-in replacement alternators that you can buy at mechman.com. 2, fill the van up with supercapacitors to be able to constantly put a 600 amp load on it. Doesn't matter, eventually you're going to deplete your supercapacitors because you don't have enough generation source. This is a stopgap complementary thing. So let's do some realistic testing now. Something that isn't so extreme, over the top, and, well, stupid. Let's let our tank fill back up. Say as soon as that hits 10, we'll come on with our current load. So we're at almost 16 volts, 15.92. Let's put a realistic load on it. 100 amp power supply. So we'll put a 200 amp load on it. So we have a 100 amp alternator in our car, and we're going to be talking on a 2x8. Come on. 200 amp load. Look, we're still above 14 volts. Still above 14 volts. Still above 14 volts. We're still above 14 volts. Okay, now we're going to unkey. Alternator, nice constant, 80 amps worth of input into the tank. Our headlights haven't dimmed. We haven't damaged our alternator. Our amplifier hasn't been short for current, not at all. So now the way I'm planning on using this is one cap, one 16 pill. See, we finally hit thermal trip on a power supply. Let's go to a different plug-in. Woo. A little 14 gauge feeding that power supply is hot. Little tiny power cord. So I'm going to use this one capacitor to run a 16 pill with 370 amps worth of generation and 3/0 cable going between the alternator and the supercapacitor. I've got cable big enough to carry 800 amps worth of shmoo from the alternator back to the capacitor, so I have very little line loss. There's still line loss, but very little. I'm only going to put roughly 280 amps worth of draw, so I'm going to have about 90 to 100 amps excess, and that's alternator hot, by the way. A 370 amp MechMan cold can produce like 500 and something amps. It's just tremendous. It's tremendous amount of current flow. So 200 amp load, 200 amp load, 200 amp load, off the key. It's about your average key down time. Off the key, off the key, off the key. Key back up, 200 amp load. Oh, Roger, right on, Dave. Yeah, man, you sound great. Loud and proud, tall and strong, blowing smoke, taking my speakers out. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, got down. Off the key. Roger, right on, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I hear you loud and clear, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Sounding great out here around blah, 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 blah. Right back to you. Right on, Kevin, Dave, Adrian, Snotlocker, Fartknocker, whatever you want to say. Got down, got down, got down, got down, got down, got down. On key. We never went below 14.5. Never once did we put more than 90 amps into the capacitor. We're relying on that in-between talk time for the capacitor to refill its reserve of current excess of what you're able to generate. Batteries have their place. Capacitors have replaced most batteries in applications, but now with the lithium graphite and then lithium graphene batteries that have come out, their outrush ability, their ability to get rid of current and stay at 14.5 versus sitting, resting at 12.5, has almost made this a moot point. Almost. Almost. In the same breath, maybe sometimes I like to punch a hole in the sky and just let the whole world catch on fire. I don't know. It's just me. But the supercapacitor has the ability to do it. Now also what I'm doing, catch on fire. What I'm doing is I'm checking all my terminal posts in the supercapacitor by heating this up. All those plates that I had to hand tamp down and make mushroomed over, and all my connections, the bars in here that I had to build. I'm proving to myself that this cap is safe. That's primarily what I'm doing here. I'm proving to myself that those connections in there can handle heavy, heavy, heavy punishment. Heavy punishment. Now I'm going to show you one other thing, and this is going to blow your minds. Okay, so now we're hooked back up to the bench power supply. This is of a more realistic test. I really did not want to be this punishing on this cap this quickly, but here we are, and it makes for good TV. I mean, YouTube. I mean, family entertainment. I mean, porn. Okay, so the terminals here are starting to get hot. So hot that the plastic's starting to discolor. We've put such a tremendous load on this. This is way more than what this cap was ever designed to actually do or be used as a complementary service. But we have it hooked up to the 1000 amp bench power supply and all the big batteries, just like what would be in your mobile. So let's do a realistic test. Everything here is really friggin' hot, you guys. So let's do a little bit more of a realistic test. Let's put a little bit of amperage on it here. Ooh, wires are moving. Okay, bam, hit it hard, and then we're gonna pull out of it. Look at our amp load. Watch how fast this recharges. It was a 700 amp load, 600 amp load. Let's hit it again. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Off and load again. Remember, our top voltage is 14.9. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, to 2, to 2, 3, to 3, to 4, 4, to 5, to 5, 6, to 6, to 6. We're consuming 350 amps here, but we're only drawing about 200 and some amps here because the cap's making up the rest of the difference. Now, realistically, I've got two big surfaced area, fairly decent pressured connections. It's not a hard bolted connection over here. Got a hard bolted connection here, but the cap's not having to work as hard. The jumpers and the power supply, the rest of the electrical system are making up the difference. Hard hit and load. 600 amp, 500 amp, 300 amp here. Let's get back up off the mall. Let's unkey it. You guys probably can't perceive it, but when I put that heavy load on it, this wire is actually flexing a little bit. Look at our recharge rate. Look at our voltage. If that don't make you a believer in this technology, nothing will. We're seeing a 300 amp difference. The cap's doing its job. I'm excited. That was a lot of freaking work. Don't do this. Don't buy one of these and think what I did here was easy. It was not. It took most of the day, and thank God I got a lot of tools over here that allow me to be able to work on some of this stuff. Meanwhile, the little balancing circuits in here that are in this lid are going crazy. Ah, stop it! Ah, stop it! Okay, one last test I want to do, and then I'll leave you guys be. Okay, let's see if you guys can follow along with this. This is the 2x16 Messenger I just got done restoring. This is a super cap that I built, bought, purchased just for this amp. This is a $400 experiment, and I'm very saddened by the results, but don't do this. Don't buy this cap. I can't keep reinforcing that enough. Okay, over here is a 1000 watt slug in 5x position, 1000 in average, and 5 watt slug in reverse, okay? So we've got it hooked up to the bench power supply. We're charging at 15.5 volts at the moment. Hello, audio. Yes. I can't believe what I just saw. Holy smokes, so this cap in line is producing a whole lot more horsepower. Hello. Now, if you guys remember the YouTube video on just this amplifier, it was making right up to 3,000 watts of power. Check this out. Hello. I think my original prediction was 3,200 watts. So this is our charge lead coming from the workbench. We're pulling 10 amps worth of current right now. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Pulling about 90 amps worth of draw on the peak over here. Now let's go ahead and we'll hook up to the lead that actually goes to the amplifier. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. 200 amps worth of draw here. But look at how stable our voltage is. We see the digits flying around doing a lot of funny things here, but we're not even dropping a full volt. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, Roger, right on, Kevin. Roger, right on, man. Roger, right on. Got down. Hello, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Hello, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Please note how this is employed. Charge leads, amp. What sits in between them? Super cap. I'm going to call this a win for the home team. But good Lord, was this a lot of work to get here. In my opinion, I'd spend the extra couple $100 and get the actual cap that's designed to do this job. Not take something like this and modify it. But I now know how much work is involved, and I can just very strongly suggest to people, this is not the way to go. I mean, that cap is the way to go if it said 16 volts on it and said 1500 farads, not 48 volts on it, 165 farads, even though we modified it, retrofitted it to a 1500 farad cap. Guys, I'm gonna run away. It's been a long day. I've been out here since 4:30 this morning. It is now 9:42 at night. So I gotta go get my 4 or 5 hours worth of beauty sleep. I'll be right back out here doing the same thing all again tomorrow. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. Big shout out to Siglant. Big thanks to Excess Power for all the support over the years and everything they do for me. Big shout out to Berg Coaxial Dynamics. And on a side note, talking about this box one more time, and the mythical messenger that my buddy Hugh used to own. My friend Renegade took pity on me and called me today and goes, man, you bro, you've been telling that story for so long. Your freaking 7-inch trout's now 14.5 inches long or 22.5 inches long and weighed 50 pounds. He goes, I got a rude awakening for you. My friend Hugh owned the amp. He sold it to my friend Renegade. Renegade has owned it for 20 years. He brought me that amplifier today. And that is a story all in itself for another day. Gentlemen, what I thought was this turned out to be something completely different. It's amazing how your memory plays tricks on you after 25 years. I cannot wait to tell you that saga. Be well, be grateful for each other. If this is your first time watching this crazy train I call my job / hobby, I say welcome. If this is a repeat time, you have watched multiples, you are a repeat offender, I say thank you and welcome back. There will be more to come every single day. I will see you guys. Bye.